Roy Ayers. Everybody loves the sunshine. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known throughout the United States as the Money Lady since 1976, and welcome to the Power of Money. Let me share something with all of you that are just tuning in. You've got a great hour ahead, so just sit down, get comfortable, because I'm going to share some things with you that most people don't know to tell you because they haven't been in the game the way that I have. For the last 35 plus years, I have been involved long before Susie Orman and all the other financial gurus out here today. But I've been involved in educating, writing articles, being on radio, television, and trying to get the word out to the working class American population that to be blind and dumb in America is dangerous. I want you to be financially literate. That means on point for your business, for your families, for your lives. This is my heartfelt desire. Just by way of background, as I said, in 1976, I started writing financial columns in newspapers. Today, I write a weekly column for the Cincinnati Herald, where I've had the pleasure of writing for over 30 years. I've also been a frequent guest on all television venues, from TBN, which is the Christian television venue, Channel 9, Channel 12, Channel 5 on issues, regular guest, as well as other venues. I've been involved in writing not just for the Herald, but for the Cincinnati Enquirer, for the Cincinnati Business Courier, and other venues as well. And right now, as we speak, I am hosting a program every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. on The Buzz of Cincinnati, 12:30 a.m., The Buzz. So I'm interested and I'm committed and I've got longevity. When people say, what makes you the money lady? And I said, oh, wait a minute. I paid my dues. I know exactly how this thing has to work. And it's not about a bunch of emotion. It's about understanding the game and becoming educated with regard to the tools of the game so that you might be able to survive. And listeners, let me tell you something today. We are in the worst economic times this country has ever known. And I will go so far as to say, including the, quote, Great Depression. Now, today we say it's the Great Recession, but I'm not altogether convinced. My background as an economist as well as a banker and a financier has taught me when people don't have jobs and they haven't had jobs for 2 or more years, we're in trouble. The rich may be getting richer, the poor may be getting poorer, but I can tell you right now that many working class, middle class Americans are getting smushed, and this is going to continue as we move along. With the globalization of America, with the globalization of information, with the free flow of how business and commerce is transacted, many people, viewers, are not going to be able to reposition themselves back into the workplace the way they had in the past. And I'm not prepared to say that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I am prepared to say to everyone within the sound of my voice that you must be willing to take the necessary steps right now to prepare yourself for the days ahead. I'm going to tell you that this show is not going to be about giving you investment advice, because the truth of the matter is, if you do not understand this game, then my telling you how to invest your money is not going to save you. What I do want to teach you is how to begin to think like wealthy people think. I want you to be able to understand the world of business, to understand investing, to understand the decisions that will impact on your lives and your family's lives. This is so very important. Now, if you want to know a little bit about me and what makes my world and why I'm here today, and I'm committed to using every venue that's available to begin to educate you. Because apparently after 35 years of writing and television and all the above, many of you have missed the boat And here we are today. But you can go to my website, www.michellegravesonline.com. If you're a Facebook fan, you can check me out on Facebook or Twitter. And again, I encourage you to become familiar with what makes my world, because my world is very different from a lot of worlds out here today. I've been involved in this money game for a long, long time, and it really, really, really disturbs me and hurts me to know that so many people are having a tough time and suffering. So I'm going to introduce some concepts with today as I talk to you. And again, you can feel free. This is a live television station airing, so you can call in and ask questions if you want straight answers. I'll be happy to do this. This is what my commitment is, empowering you to make a change in your attitude and your disposition about money. And I'm sorry, money is not a bad word in America, and I'm going to talk about that right now. We have an interesting dichotomy in the United States of America. First, we are a democratic form of government. And let me explain what that means to all of you that are listening. It means that we have the freedom to cast a vote, and that vote is counted. One man, one vote. We also, through this democratic political apparatus, are able to elect officials to represent our interests. We have three parts of government. We have the executive part of government, which is the President of the United States and the Commander-in-Chief. He's in charge of the military, and he's also in charge of those executive decisions. We also have the legislative branch, which consists of Congress, the House of Representatives, which are elected every 2 years, and the Senate, which are elected every 4 years. And these two groups have to reach consensus in terms of what we do and what we agree to. And finally, we have the judicial component, which is the Supreme Court, which is the final arbiter of all judicial disputes in the United States, the highest court in the land. So we have this three-pronged approach to how we handle the process of government, because government is how we run as a country. It covers our roads. It allocates resources through taxes. The government brings in taxes and uses the taxes to do the things that we tell Congress and our elected officials that need to be done. It is through our tax dollars that the government raises through its collection agency. And yes, we do have a collection agency known as the Internal Revenue Service. That is the government's right-hand arm for collecting tax dollars. So I want everybody to understand this, because everybody, I believe, understands about the one man, one vote. But what we don't understand is the other side of the coin, and that is our economic system, which has to do with how goods and services and money and profits are generated. And in the United States, our economic system is capitalism. And it's very important that everyone that's listening in today understand that capitalism is a very specific form of resource allocation. Capitalism says that it is the individual who is primary. It is the individual in his or her efforts that create the apparatus called jobs and employments. It is capitalism that enables companies to not only hire and fire, but to make profit. And that this profit does not have to be shared with anyone, because it's a result of the individual efforts of that particular business entity or business owner. Capitalism says that the only role of government is to provide and to protect. Capitalism makes no other promises. It doesn't promise that people will be treated well. It doesn't promise that people will be taken care of. It does not make these kinds of promises, because capitalism is totally and completely engaged in the process of making individual profit. And I might say this to all of you that are listening here today, because if you work in the private sector, you already are experiencing capitalism. If your boss is not making the kinds of revenues he or she feels, you can lose your job, and there is no explanation, there is no accountability. Their modus operandi is to make profit. And let me tell you all something. They have to make profit or else they won't be in business. So when you go to work, and I shared this in my boot camp when I had a class I just completed, and I said to them, if you were paid what you were worth, your employer would not make a profit. Now that may sound foreign and archaic to many of you, but that is the economic system that we are under in the United States. The government is not involved in private enterprise. It has its own venue, which is, again, a democratic process. So I say all of this because I have found that most people in America are not aware that you are engaged in an economic system where individualism and profit are the driving forces for how business is done in this country. And I might also add that capitalism is not intrinsic to the United States. In fact, capitalism found its home in Europe, where you will find that the English engaged in capitalism. They also engaged in expansion, which enabled them, even though they're a very tiny and very wealth-deprived country, they were able to colonize and dominate most of the world at this time in history. How could this be done? Because they understood the nature of the beast. They understood capitalism. They understood the process of making money, and they also understood that their government had a responsibility to the capitalists to colonize all these countries so that they could make money. And they would open up the door for businesses to set in motion the profit, and the government would make revenues from the taxes. So I'm saying this today to everyone that is listening because it's so very important. And believe me when I tell you that capitalism can operate in other types of governmental entities. When I was in China, one of the things I learned is that the Chinese are brutal capitalists. Even though it is a communist form of government, they are absolutely, viciously committed to making profit and squeezing every dime they can. Again, as I share with people, the economic form of government has nothing to do with the democratic form of government. So we can call ourselves a capitalistic democracy if you want, or you can just simply say, in America, it's all about taking all the money from anybody, whether they like it or not. So how does one work through this system, and what relevancy does this have to what I'm talking to you about today? And I want you to listen in very, very closely because, as I said, the rich are not going to be listening to this show. The rich already know the power of money. They have the money. And they are not going to be particularly interested in me sharing with you how they got rich and why they're staying rich. But I'm going to share with you because, again, we're in a country where every person should have the opportunity to carve a destiny that will enable them to live and to thrive and to prosper, and the same thing for their children. And unfortunately, we have evolved into a country where more and more people are becoming poorer and poorer and poorer, while fewer and fewer people are becoming wealthy. And that is not a good formula. You cannot have the majority of the people with no money, not even some money, but no money, and only a few people with some money. And I'm here to tell all of you, the government is not going to save you on this one. Why? Because the government simply does not have the ability or the vision to do what is necessary to address the changing world system that we're under right now. The globalization, the internet, the fact that you can get goods and services from all over the world and be impacted, and impacted immediately, I might say. So what I want to share with you today, and again, I'm going to be on every month, and you can certainly enjoy reruns. But what I'm going to share with all of you today is understanding money, and understanding that it's not a bad word. It's a word that will determine whether you will do well or not. And again, everybody's always telling me that, you know, I'm just not clean about this thing. And I'm like, money's not dirty. Money is a venue. And all over the world, people are trying to get money. So you might as well learn how this works so that you yourselves can begin to benefit and take advantage of the opportunity. That's all I'm saying. In America, being poor, being dependent, being sick, being helpless is a formula for disaster. And believe me, whether anybody says it publicly or not, money cures a lot of things. Even if you're nuts, money will enable you to see a psychiatrist and get some help. Money will enable you to get good medical care. Money will enable your children to go into good schools and to have a good opportunity before them. These are all the things about money. So before you start saying, I don't want to hear this about money, the only person that doesn't want to hear about money is a person that does not have money. And I'm sure you wouldn't be listening to this show if that were you. I'm sure you're listening because you'd like to know, how can I change my life? How can I get ahead of this thing? And how can I stop being blindsided and manipulated by this system? And I'm going to talk to you about this today while I'm on the show. Let's talk about money. And when I use money, I'm talking about money as a measure of wealth. And it is more than just a dollar bill. Money is a conduit for how things flow all over the world. Everybody all over the world has some measure of money known as currency. And that currency is in fact essential for an individual to build wealth. Period. The lack of money means that you will be dependent upon other people. And I will say this because in the majority of the world, people are totally dependent on a very small segment of the population for their daily needs. Most of the world is poor. Most of the world is hungry. Most of the world do not have the resources in a fair way. And the people are tired of it. They're tired of only a few having everything, and the working person has nothing. But I'm here today to explain to you how this works. Because when we looked at Mubarak and the situation in Egypt where this man had amassed $70 billion, and a lot of it was U.S. dollars, a lot of it was money from the United Nations, but a lot of it was from his own people, because in most countries you cannot start businesses without paying people under the table, without paying people to get registrations done, without constantly paying people. And it becomes very, very burdensome for people to do well in other countries. So this is why they're running over here, listeners. This is why they're running into the United States. It's not because we got it all going on. The one thing we do have going on is they have the freedom to build their companies and to make profit without being extorted, without seeing all their money going to pay officials and monarchs and people in power. So, having said that, let's start with understanding money. First and foremost, and please understand this, everybody that's listening, unless things change shortly and quickly, the notion of the middle class will cease to be in America. You will have the poor, and then you will have the very rich. I didn't write this story. This is what happens when capitalism simply goes above itself. Corporations in this country have trillions of dollars right now. They're doing just fine. Stock market, doing just fine. It's the working people that are not doing fine. It's the average Joes that are losing their jobs, are permanently displaced, and do not have an answer. So let's talk about how this all occurred and what you need to do to play and to win. Because it's one thing to play a game, but it's another thing entirely to play a game and don't even know the rules. The money game is a game about winners take all. Kind of like Monopoly. When I was growing up, I loved Monopoly. I did. And because it gave you the opportunity to start off at the beginning of the game, everybody was on the board. And everybody got to start with square one. The money game is similar in the sense that everybody gets to play. But not everybody gets to play equally. Because in every game there are rules. Because that's why it's a game. And so I'm going to talk to you about the rules, but I want to tell you in the money game there are rules. And not knowing the rules puts you at an automatic disadvantage, because how can you play a game and you don't know the rules? Can you imagine football and not knowing to put on a helmet and not knowing what the first down and the second? Can you imagine the chaos in the game if you had players that didn't even know the rules? So the money game has rules. The money game also has what I call terms of engagement, which is, how am I going to play this game? And one of the things I share with everyone, terms of engagement with the money game, is that you play hard and you play to win. Because if you are in a game like that one, where winner takes all and prisoners don't count, and you're just kind of, oh, well, I'll get through this, I'm just making it, you're going to get run over. And believe me, in the private sector, we know that people get run over and lives destroyed every day. So you have to know the terms of engagement, that this is a brutally competitive type of game. Capitalism is not for the weak. Capitalism is not for those who cannot run hard all the way to the finish. So that's the terms of engagement. Who are the players? The players, like I said, are everybody. People play this game every day. Rich people play this game. Poor people play this game. Working people play this game. Executives play this game. Wannabes play this game. All over the world, players play. So what determines a winner versus a loser? Well, in the money game, the winner ends up with all the money. And the losers have nothing. And are worrying about, how am I going to get through the day? Does this sound like you? Does it? Because the majority of people are engaged in a game where they not only don't know the rules, but at the end of the game, they are out of the game. And the game is over for them. So let's pause for a minute. And I'm going to talk to you about the rules, and I'm going to encourage all of you that have questions. Again, I'm not going to sit up and talk to you about investment objectives and all of that. Not to be presumptuous, but folks, been there, done that. Go to my website. I managed millions of dollars in the 70s. I worked for some of the top investment companies. I know how this thing plays. I know, and I tell people all the time, if you're a guppy, then, learn how to put on your armor. Don't pretend to be a shark, because it makes the shark mad and makes you look crazy. So be okay. I'm going to show you how this thing works. Number one, money rule number one, and you can write it down. The first rule of money is time is money. You want to know how I can tell you a person has money or not? Because one of the things I've observed is that people that don't have much money have plenty of time. They have time to be on the phone. They have time to look at television. Hello, watch this show because I'm trying to teach you something. They have time to burn. But the truth of the matter is, if you waste your time and never, ever, ever use your time responsibly and prudently, particularly to create businesses for yourselves. One of the things I shared again with my students in boot camp is that you don't have the luxury of watching television unless you have stock in the company that you're watching. You do not, because television is a little machine who makes his revenue on advertisers. And advertisers are counting on you to watch that machine and to be motivated to buy their product. Now, mind you, I didn't say anything about television being an educational conduit unless you watch PBS, which I think is a phenomenal operation. But the majority of people sit in front of television, they come home from work. Is this you? You work all day, you hate your boss, you come home, you fix yourself a quickie meal that's not good for you. Then you sit in front of the TV with the clicker, click, 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 and you see what's on the tube. And as I said, none of that activity is putting a dime in your pocket. None of the activity that you're looking at is motivating and provoking you to change your perspective about yourself so that you will go on and do well for yourself. The time that most Americans, and let me tell you something, the marketing gurus know exactly how much time you sit in front of the television, and they know exactly how much time you waste. In fact, advertisers buy time based upon the numbers that say how long you sit in front of the television. So if you can prove to me that you are learning something to make you wealthy while you're sitting in front of the TV, come on with it. Come on with it. I don't watch that much television. I don't need to. I have a computer. Anything I want to know about is real time, and I'm going to watch it. And I'm going to learn what I got to learn, and I'm constantly doing things to keep my mind active and busy, because television is a passive activity. If you do not control your time, you will not have any money. And on the subject of controlling time and money, because that's just rule number one, do not allow other people to waste your time. Because I'm telling you, poverty is contagious. I'm not trying to upset you, but I'm telling you, poverty is contagious. If you allow other people to dictate how your time is spent, and it's never spent generating the possibility of income. It's always spent doing fun things. Oh, let's do this. Well, excuse me, I can't pay my bills. How am I supposed? I need to create some stuff. Oh, no, you don't. You need to chill out. How do you figure you need to chill out in America when you do not have your own income stream? When a job is all you have. And then you say, well, let's go out and have a drink. You have money like that? You actually have money. And you know what? If you go to a club, because most business people, most people that are about making money are not at clubs anyway, because they are about trying to make their money. So here you are drinking with your friends who have nothing, and you are all supposedly having a good time. Well, you know what, folks? That is not a good time to me. I'm not interested in that type of a good time. I am interested, however, in being involved in activities that are empowering to me and to my family, that will create income opportunities. I'm always on point to listen to television for international news. In January, December, all of us knew that gasoline prices were going through the roof. 6 months ago, listeners and viewers, we knew that food prices were heading, because all you had to do is look at futures. You knew this because the futures will tell you what's in the futures. That's why they call it the futures market. Again, I'm just saying to you, please attend to your affairs and don't allow other people to dictate how you use your time, because again, time is not a commodity you can replace. Once it's gone, and that's it. You can't get it back. You cannot get it back. It's gone. So I say that, number one, do not call me. I'm not on the page. Don't call me unless you have something really prosperous and productive going on in your life. And then you'll get my attention, because that's what I like to see. Rule number two, don't lose money. Sounds simple. It really does. But how do you not lose money? Well, the first thing you do is you don't give money away. You don't. You tend to your affairs first. Get on a budget. If you're not on a budget, go to internet. Dave Ramsey has excellent information on money management and budgets. To download it, it's free. Get on a budget. If you don't know how you're spending your money, believe me, money is going to leave you. That's a rule that I'll talk about in a minute. Money is not obligated to stay with people that don't respect it. It'll leave. It'll be gone. So again, don't lose money. And I say this to seniors especially, and your children will probably throw bricks at me, but since when does a senior, particularly a widow, have resources to give to her children, grandchildren, and everybody else like she's the bank? Even the bank charges interest, but the fact that you are so incredibly generous to people that are younger and more able to do for themselves than you are is astounding. I tell young people, why don't you return the favor to your grandmother and pay her gas and electric bill? Now that's a blessing. Or rather than showing up at her door with your children to eat, why don't you buy some food at the grocery store? Because here she is least able to do, and yet she is trying to do because she loves her family. That's a generation that loves their families. But as I tell people, if you love your families, then you will encourage them to love you back and to do well for you. That's my personal feeling about don't lose money. Just don't do it. Don't give away money. Don't spend money unnecessarily. Most people that are listening today, how in the world, and I'm going to say this to you young girls, how do you figure that you can sport a Louis Vuitton bag, an original bag, and you working at $10 an hour? Why would you even care? Tavis Smiley said something that was interesting that always stuck with me, and maybe this is relevant to you. When we talked about this issue of why people can't save, and he said that when a person recognizes that they are more important than what they're sporting, they're on the way to freedom. You don't have to spend money you don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people that don't count. In the end, the only thing that's going to matter is, can you take care of you? Can you take care of your children? Can you invest in a future for them that is remarkably better than your future? That's what parenting is about. And that's what maturity is about. And if you're a young woman and you don't have children, then guess what? $2,000 to take care of couture, and you don't even have the resources to build a nest egg for yourself, is got to be some form of insanity. And somebody needs to tell you, so I guess it's me today. I'm telling you. But the third rule is likened to the second rule. Obey rule number 2. Don't lose money. That's not original. Warren Buffett said that. And it's true. If you could learn to manage your affairs tightly and closely so as not to lose money, you will be so far ahead of everybody else. And that includes, very simply, let me tell you other sneaky little things about losing money. You've got credit cards, you're losing money every month. You know why? Because 26% interest, which is the cost. Did you know money charges you to use money? Money is something. Money will charge you to use money. So you bought the dress because you didn't have the money, and money said, aha, I'm going to charge you 26 cents on a dollar for the privilege of using me, and I'm going to make you pay for that one. Now, if you are in that situation, you are losing money. And to illustrate this, let me say simply this. The average dress that you purchase that is made in China costs less than $2. I don't care what the sign is. That's really what it costs. So you go and buy a dress for $100, and which means that you're now in the red, $98. And then you finance that dress at 26% interest because you got to go to this dance and you got to look like a flame. But I'm going to tell you something. At the end of the day, you are the one who is nuts, because you can't eat that dress. And the minute you wear it one time, that dress has no value. If you think I'm kidding, go to the thrift store. Go to the consignment store. See what clothing resale value versus the original is. It's just crazy. It's crazy. But yet many of you that are viewers will not acknowledge that this is a problem. And I say this in all sincerity. I need you to wake up and stop it. Come out of debt. Stop letting money work you. Oh, you didn't know money would work you? Yeah, that's rule number 4. Money will work you. Money will make you holler. Good money will make you happy, but bad money will whip you. So how do you turn that thing around? Well, as I tell everyone, get out of debt, cut it, stop it. Frugal is where you need to be. If corporations are getting out of debt, you need to be getting out of debt. Because let me share something with all of you. We're living in a time where cash is king and debt is like a noose around your neck. You cannot advance as long as you're paying out all your money on stuff. Now, some of you are going to have to file bankruptcy. And for the record, it's not the end of the world. It will mess up your credit, but you know what? Your credit's messed up anyway. It doesn't matter. Get on the right track and don't continue to lose money. Have a budget, live within your means, set aside at least 20% of every check you get for your emergency account. And why do I say that? Because many people are going to be losing jobs. Many people have lost jobs, but it's not over. Now we're into the government sector, and they're cutting and they're hacking and they're doing this and all these things. And you don't want to be out there hanging in the wind. You want to arrange your affairs and make those kinds of decisions that say enough. And for the record, your children don't need a bunch of new anything. What they do need is parents that are committed to teaching them how to do well in this new economy. Because our children, that's white children, black children, Latina children, our children, Chinese American children, our children are competing with children all over the world for resources. Companies are not going to be hiring American. In fact, I don't have to say the name of one of the largest retailers in the world. They get most of their products in China. In fact, 2 of them do. And they're not hiring our children. So what do you want to do with that? We have to begin to stress to our children that money is a real taskmaster, and that you must work and you must be disciplined and you must be focused, because money does not give out rewards without work. And that brings me to rule number 4. Well, should I say rule number 5? And that is, money is patient. Did you know that money will let everybody else make foolish decisions, and then money will come behind those foolish decisions and benefit? This is why I share with people all the time. Please do not listen to other people's opinions about the stock market, because if that many people think it's a good deal, trust me, money's patiently waiting for all of you to lose your money so it can go and buy cheap. That's money for you. What can you say? You want to be careful and you want to be patient. Growing up, I was very blessed to have a father and a mother who were very astute money people. They did not waste money. They were not wealthy people, but they were disciplined people. And as a result of their discipline, we were able as children to enjoy a very comfortable standard of life. And my father, upon his death, left his grandchildren resources, not because he had a great executive job, but because he was disciplined. And money respects control, self-discipline. Money does not respect people who blow it and do their thing and then come around the next day wanting you to lend them some money. And I tell most people, please, if you were in Africa where they're barely surviving, and I say this because I'm CFO of a women's group in West Africa, it would be something different. But I'm speaking to you today, all of you today, about the requirements of control and discipline in a country that you're paid very, very well and live very, very well. Do I have a call? Okay, caller.
Hello?
I can't hear.
Can you hear me?
Okay, can someone,
Can you hear me?
I'm having a tough time. Just
Hello?
a minute. Okay.
It's great.
Just be patient. I'd like to hear what you got to say.
It's great.
Okay. Can I?
Hear me? Hello?
Well, she's, if you all can get that caller worked in, I'll be happy to answer her question.
Hello?
Huh? I can barely hear her.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Can you say your question?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Can hear you at a distance.
Okay. My question is that if you have student loans that are in deferment or forbearance, but yet you cannot pay the note on them,
Yes.
what can you do regarding that? Because I know you can't file bankruptcy, but yet you still have to eventually pay those student loans off.
Okay, I wrote an article. If you will go to the website, the CincinnatiHerald.com, young lady, I did a whole article maybe 2 months ago on options for students, college students, because so many of you got involved with student loans to finance your education, and you came into a marketplace where you can't get a job, but you've got all this debt. And I've laid out some options and some opportunities for you in that. It may very well be that you can take advantage of the option of public service to pay off the debt by giving time to the government. You might be able to renegotiate, but go to the CincinnatiHerald.com and type in my name, and there is an article that I wrote on students. And let me just say to those of you that are listening, this is one of the things that has so incensed me, which is to hold our young people in bondage with this debt. And the normal rule of thumb is never borrow more than your first year's salary. And so many of our students have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in debt. And the young lady that called in is quite right. There is no forgiveness of student loans. You cannot bankrupt out of student loans because these are federal loans, and the government says, no, you can't. Another sorrowful story is the number of students who are involved with proprietary schools and taking out student loans, and they will not get employment. These people are charlatans, they're scam, they have not done right. And if you are part of that, you need to know that Congress is getting ready to deal with those types of schools that have cropped up everywhere, promising people all kinds of jobs. And these students are borrowing money. They're taking out money because they desperately want jobs. And I'm just sharing with all of you that that's not exactly how it works today. But again, money looks before money leaps. Look always and look carefully. And if you're going to be putting yourself in debt, you need to find out if the occupational classes that you're involved in are in fact going to be viable. There are whole industries that are not going to be around behind this economic polarization that is happening all over the globe. And you don't want to be involved in that type of a situation, because now you not only don't have a job, but you owe a bunch of money. I hope you've gotten your question answered. to your satisfaction. And again, for those of you that are not familiar with me and don't know about the Herald, which is a shame because that's a phenomenal weekly newspaper for the African American community, you need to go to that website and you will see all my articles. I've been writing for them for ages, but they've been online for about 6 months. So anything I've written, you can go in and you can learn. Knowledge is power. Don't try to know things you don't know. It's just a waste of time. What you do want to do is attach yourself to people who have shown a commitment to you and to money. Because remember, money's not going to stick around where money is not respected. Trust me, you can look all around. Money's not going to be anywhere where money is not respected. I said on Facebook that money is like a kept woman. You stop taking care of her, she's leaving. And that's the truth. Money owes you no obligation to be where you aren't. It's just not going to be there. And incidentally, I might say this, money loves company. How else could you explain why the rich get richer and the poor in today's society are getting poorer? Money loves company. You want to be on money's friendly side, if I might say that. And that means that you want to look at all of your expenditures from a perspective of, can I really, really, really do this? Don't buy things you don't need. I am a fanatic, and I don't care what you think about me. I'm a fanatic about buying things on sale, particularly food items, particularly things that you can freeze. And I have a friend who is a fanatic about coupons. And believe me, you need to know that the rich are fanatical about coupons too, because who wants to pay money for stuff they don't have to pay? If you can save $1 here and $1 there, that's money that's in your pocket and not in somebody else's pocket. So please be aware that, again, as I said earlier, money loves frugality. Money does not like the foolishness of people who have no money. And money will leave you. Did you know that money has consciousness? It is intelligent. How do I know? Because if money wasn't intelligent, those who have no money would have money. Money will leave you. And the more foolishness you put out, the faster it will leave. Look at all your decisions carefully. And don't launch into anything without very, very careful thought. This is what wealthy people do. They not only spend wise, because money is wisdom, but money also, and this is so amazing. There's good money and there's bad money. And bad money will never, ever work with good money. If you make a bad money decision, and I'm talking to those of you that have been in the stock market, mutual funds, and you've lost your fanny. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't done mutual funds in years for seniors because seniors cannot take the loss. But many of you did, in fact, invest in products that you did not understand or know anything about. You did not use wisdom. Remember, money is wisdom. So you put your money into products and services and situations that you lost. And now you want to hold on, hoping for the best. That's called bad money, waiting on good money to appear. And I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't work like that. You're not going to live long enough to recover most of the money that you lost. What I recommend is that you need to stabilize. And when I say stabilize, you need to look at investment options that give you guarantees. There are products that give you guarantees. You don't have to lose a dime. They guarantee your principal. That's what the power of money is about. Understanding for yourself the tools that are necessary for you. One final point. Money is only as powerful as you set it to be. At the end of the day, when you die, and if you live on this green earth, you are definitely going to die. If you have not set your money in order, If you have not set your money affairs, whether they're $1,000 or $1 million, if you have not set money in order, let me tell you what money's going to do when you die. Money's going to leave you for real. Not only is money going to leave you, money's going to go to people that have a completely different agenda, don't care anything about you, and money's going to develop new relationships, new friendships, and new opportunities, because money's going to where it's welcome. Game over. In Monopoly, as I share with so many people, you put all your pieces on the table. You have X number of years to buy houses, to do all these things, to make good decisions, bad decisions, risky decisions. But at the end of the day, viewers, when the game is over, all the pieces go in the box and the lid is on. Game over. That's the end of it. There's nothing more to say. You've had a lifetime and an opportunity to handle your affairs responsibly without foolishness. And money is there to reward you if you have been sharp. Money does not reward people who are not sharp. Money does not reward people who don't understand the money game. Money will continue to reward people that understand the rules of the game, the terms of engagement, are serious, focused, and committed, and are responsible and disciplined. I didn't say it would be easy for you to break your bad habits, but you got to break them because your bad habits are officially under this economic mess. Your bad habits are going to break you. I said it. But I'm with you if you're with you. If you're not with you, I'm with money. I'm going where money's gone. And that's what I've got to say today as Michelle Graves, the money lady. And I'm just delighted to be here on this show. It's my first show. Hope you learned a little bit and are willing to reposition yourself and to be responsible. Now, let me say something quickly, because many of you probably don't know that I was a single mother. And I raised 3 wonderful children by myself in the day. And you know what? Before you start tripping about what I've got, let me tell you something. It was tough, but I had to have a budget. I ran a company. I did all kinds of things. But the most important investment that I made was in my children. You can't boogaloo, girls, and buy everything on the rack when you've got children. You've got to be mature and responsible in those attitudes with your children. So I want to say that in wrapping up today, for those of you that have children, they don't stay little forever. They grow up, and then they're wonderful examples of how you've trained them. I'm blessed, and I send you blessings, and I thank you so much for being my guest on today's episode of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves. You can always visit my website, michellegravesonline.com, or listen to me on The Buzz of Cincinnati on Saturdays from 3 to 5, where I'll be delighted to, again, talk to you about my favorite subject, which is money.